I'm Mark from the Meeple Society, and together with Jessica, Katie, and Greg, I want to thank you for ordering the number 12 on the drive-through value menu, which brings you a sack of greasy seasoned fries and 5 things. So today we're going to talk about how natural it can be for careful, discerning, and mostly objective reviewers to get caught up in and even feed the overwhelming buzz of a new board game. We see it all the time in places like BGG and the social media tableaus of your choice, where the latest thing just sort of grabs you and fills you with a fear of missing out. And it can happen so quickly and innocuously, too. One minute you're just sitting there harmlessly, and the next you see something that came out to fanfare at Gen Con or Essen, or you hear some intriguing board game news, probably from Greg. Or you click that little plug on the BGG hotness list to take a look, and then bam! It's all over, and you're just drinking the Kool-Aid to the game with the recent buzz just alongside everybody else. Trust me, I am one of those people that finds myself pulled right along to the FLGS by a great series of reviews for a board game or a theme that just really grabs me, say, the fantasy genre. I get locked in way too easily by the latest magical hotness, and I don't just mean my wife's elven characters. Anyway, the point is, I am not immune. None of us are. And this doesn't specifically mean that hype is evil either. Sometimes a lot of people really like and plug a game because it really is good. Or it opens you up to a new experience, a new twist on a mechanic, or something out of the ordinary that you're not expecting. Or in some cases, it just mesmerizes people with all the willpower and self-control of your average mollusk. Like, say, me. So today I bring you 5 fantasy games that swept me right up in their hype train. Number 1, Vast, the Crystal Caverns. Asymmetry. When I first heard of Vast, I was enamored with it beyond just the stylized art, which is actually really cool. So in Vast, you can play a knight, a dragon, a group of goblins, a thief, or even the cave itself in sort of a battle royale, each side with their own particular goals. The knight wants to kill the dragon. The goblins want to kill the knight. The dragon wants to wake up and escape the cave. The thief wants to grab 6 treasures. And the cave wants to expand and then contract and kill everyone. That's what caves do, apparently. But what was awesome above and beyond that, the big draw to me was just the asymmetry of it all. Each character had like this wildly different means of play. And the idea just kind of sang to me when I read it about, being able to play almost like 5 completely different games in one sweeping game that managed to interconnect everything. I was like, holy crap, that is awesome. I mean, like one side could use cards. One had more of a worker placement dynamic. One had tile placement. It was just freaking awesome. It was an exciting and innovative dynamic at the time. And it just overran me with its potential awesomeness. So it became almost an obsession to own this game. So we picked up Vast as one of our early purchases. We took the plunge. We broke it out one weekend to try it. And that was when we ran into the first of several problems. See, first, the game is not particularly well set up for 2 players. Yeah, there are options for 2 players, but even among experienced players, those are kind of hit and miss. And that's not necessarily a death knell for the game. I mean, because we could have played it with a society. But then there's a plain and simple fact that it's an asymmetrical game with like 5 separate games, which means each player has to learn their own rule set. Add to that, there are a lot of rules, and the rule book is not always the most helpful thing in the world. That means your how to play videos, they're pretty much useless. Someone's experience with the goblin is not going to help you play the knight or the dragon. So the game still sits on our shelf, staring at us in that little smug manner, like heavy, high impact exercise routine, daring us to pull it out so it can laugh at us. And someday maybe we'll try again. On the good side, this has totally quelled my desire to learn a heavily asymmetrical game just for the sake of learning one. So now I can totally ignore, never own, or never play Root.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You've talked about this game before.
I wanted to like this game so bad.
Right. But I don't know. When I seen it come out, I'm like going, it didn't even draw me. I didn't like the artwork in it.
Well, I mean, the artwork is...
If I don't like the artwork, I'm not going to even look at it.
The artwork was really stylized, and I actually kind of liked it, despite the fact that it looked kind of simplified.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we'll probably try it again at some point because we've become more experienced gamers now. So maybe we can find kind of an analog to some other game that we played with the game styles here. But when we tried it, it was just painful.
I'm not one really to go in on the hype right away. I mean, we'll sit back and listen to all the hype and see if it goes anywhere. Because a lot of these games, we fell into it a few times on some games that just didn't really pan out, and now they just sit on our shelves.
Just a few.
Okay.
I totally get swept up constantly.
Well, after getting burned on some of the games, we thought, oh, these are awesome games. These are supposed to be really good games. And then they're not really all that good games. We play it maybe once or twice, and it collects dust on our shelves. And you paid so much for it, you don't really want to get rid of it, and you don't want to sell it. And
yep.
So now we're kind of selective at what we get and the hype of the game. I just kind of wait. We try to be.
And then we go on a road trip.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes right out the window.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Vindication. Now, I want to be honest. I can't honestly say about this one. Is it all hype? I won't know for sure until the full Archive of the Ancients package hits my doorstep, probably sometime in 2022, shipping freighters willing. I don't think I had even heard of Orange Nebula or Vindication 2 years ago. But it was around this time that I began seeing glowing reviews of this game with this, dark box and really intriguing art and a nicely colored, hex game board with just jaw-dropping production value. The more I heard, the more I liked. The game is a Euro, but it's thick and dripping with theme. Listen to the first sentence of the publisher's description. Thrown overboard for a life of wretchedness, you wash ashore on a hostile island. By a hostile island ruins, completely alone with nothing except the breath in your lungs and an undaunted spirit. End of quote. That is flipping lyrical and poetic and hits me right in the pancreas. So you are spending time trying to regain your honor. You're a bona fide scoundrel made good. Who's played RPGs and can't relate to that?
Right.
So even considering that the game is a Euro, the idea grabbed me and the reviews grabbed me. They were almost uniformly raving, and the components grabbed me. The game has this really beautiful look, and the publisher grabbed me because if you've ever read their messages or emails or their updates, they're hilarious and really tongue in cheek. So I began to look at it over more and more over the course of a couple of weeks. And the next thing Jesse knew, I was spouting off facts about Vindication like some starry-eyed 15-year-old fawning over a K-pop band. With the possible exception that since I was already married, I hadn't yet planned the impending wedding with Orange Nebula. And so far, I only have one of their posters on my wall. So when their expansion came out on Kickstarter, I went full on snowed over. Give me the world of Vindication all in. The full base game, every single expansion, the upgraded components, the add-on exclusive cards loosely depicting reviewers more popular than us. Everything. Including the immense box to hold it all. I still have no idea if I'll even like the game, but I'll be damned if I'm not still snowed by it. It has an amazing theme. It looks amazing. It has freaking dice. How can it miss? Okay, let's be brutally honest. I don't necessarily have the best track record, so it obviously can, but we'll see.
So have you played it?
Have not.
I was going to say, is it any good? Because it's one I'm interested in, but
we haven't gotten it yet. They're kind of on hold, and since they're shipping out the Archive of the Ancients, and it's basically going to have everything in one box, I'm not getting it until the new expansions are ready, which has been pushed back to 2022.
Okay.
But yes, I am so looking forward to it. Everything about this just looks really good. The game trays, player boxes look really good. The cards, which have the weird inset to them, it's not just a straight up card. the hex board and how you get around it with the little hex markers and everything like that. Everything just looks really good on this game, and I really want to try it, but I've had to hold myself off from actually buying it because we've got it coming. It's just going to take time.
Yeah, see, I didn't want to believe the hype on this one. I just sat back and I was like, if I ever get a chance, I'll play it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had it at the Dice Star Retreat, but I didn't get to play it though. But one of the guys we met there, he said he's played it. He loves this game. It's one of his favorite games.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually wasted 4 hours at the retreat playing it when he has the game anyway. I was like, well, that's cool. 4 hours. It's not a bad time. That's kind of average of a lot of our games that we have. So I was like, I'd be really interested. And I trust what he says because he has a lot of the same kind of taste in games that we have.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. You guys get it. We'll have to play it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. All right. Number 3, Destinies. So we got on the Kickstarter for this while we were on vacation, no less. And the main draw to me was that I knew we'd like the previous games by Lucky Duck Games, specifically like Chronicles of Crime. And Destinies seemed to have a similar playstyle feel, only as a competitive game rather than a cooperative game. And also, like Chronicles of Crime, there was a pretty good buzz about the scenario creator, which would allow people to create their own scenarios for the game. But for me, the biggest pull was Destinies hosted a darkish fantasy medieval theme behind it. Hello. Storytelling game, medieval fantasy, yes, please. The only way it could have conceivably been better in my mind would be if they had sent each box with a complimentary selection of stimulants. And yet, I don't know that the crowdfunding campaign created any kind of ridiculous fervor or buzz, or no matter how much I was personally excited for it and how awesome the game looked. After the campaign was over, I only vaguely recalled even seeing it plugged until a couple weeks before its retail release. And holy crap, at that point, once Destinies came close to its release, it was all over the place, like everywhere. It only spent a couple weeks on the BGG hotness meter, but during that time, you literally could not throw a rock without hitting a reviewer showing a Destinies unboxing or their review where they are heaping over it in effusive, glowing praise. This was one of the games that the buzz was generated after the game was released rather than before. And don't get me wrong, Destinies utterly deserves all the accolades it gets and then some. And I know there is a huge cross-section of tabletoppers that get all teeth gnashy about app-driven games. But this game still deserves it. It has a ridiculously slick experience system and the exploration system is easy enough to pick up that most people don't even have to spend 10 minutes learning it before they get to playing. At least this one had me out ahead of the curve. I was right at the forefront of Destinies, quite unlike some of the other games, which I fell for long after the initial hype train had already done that passing by Doppler effect thing with its horn. So at least I feel like I got out in front of this one.
Now, you guys got this to the table now, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
That's right. So it
So
it owned up to its hype.
I think so. I really like this game a lot. I know there have been minor gripes about it, mostly the size of the minis. They are tiny minis, but the minis are just really placeholders for the most part on the board. We'll have to get you guys over. We've got the Bound by Fate thing where you can play 2 against 2. So we might have to drag that out, or just loan you Destinies and let you take a look at it yourself.
Yeah, because we don't have too many games we haven't played.
No, exactly. Katie, you will like it better than Chronicles of Crime.
Well, that's good to know.
All righty. Number 4, Iridia, the path Swede dare tread. Okay, I was definitely late to the party on this one. I happened across Iridia on BGG while searching around for my holy grail, the RPG board game that actually felt like an RPG rather than a game with cakes of foundation and costume jewelry that tries to hide the fact that it's an engine builder or worker placement. By the time I discovered Iridia, it was already like something like 2 years into pre-production, being plugged by Cody Miller as his next big project after Xia, The Legends of a Drift System, which is a game that still has a large and hugely loyal following 7 years after its release. So I listened to all the vocal buzz about it, and as time went by, I got caught up in it. By the time the Kickstarter launched, I was so swept up in all the hype that I'm sure I ignored a lot of common sense and just plopped down money for the whole thing on day one. This, despite the fact that I have never even seen Xia in a store, let alone played it. And I know this all largely came out because the game was described by Cody himself as a D&D game where he's the DM leading us through a sort of sandbox adventure. I mean, this obviously is going to hit me. So obviously I was hooked that quickly and got that whole glowy-eyed, everything is awesome fuzziness when it came to all things Iridia. Now, time is going to have to tell whether it'll be worth all the hype or not. I do know that even before the Kickstarter campaign ended, I already found myself with some slight niggling concerns and questioning a couple decisions that had been made. I also found myself really turned off by the sort of myopic rabidness of some of the fan base whenever anyone raised questions or had any other opinions. You know, like they were all vegetarians trying to push the opinion that eggplant or portobello mushroom are perfectly acceptable substitutes for real meat. And how dare you Philistines question the design of the aesthetics or the content? So we'll see. I'm hopeful at any rate.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about this game.
I've never heard of this one.
I've heard of it, but I don't know a lot about it. So
I found this one, I want to say 6 months before it hit Kickstarter. And a lot of people were really, who have the kind of same feeling as me. They were looking for kind of an RPG in a box sort of feel. And they were really highly pushing this. And apparently the designer has got a really good fan following. And I'm cool with that. That's awesome. But if the designer's got a really cool fan following, you can either trust him or, you can sit there and go, okay, well, maybe that means he'll like listen when somebody goes, I don't know about that.
I think he may have found himself in a situation where he was trying to please too many people at once. And his fan base not the whole fan base, obviously, but people with the loudest voices were pretty rabid, and it was pretty unpleasant. But I'm certain that in the end, the mechanics and the story will be fine.
Oh yeah. The kind of cool thing about Iridia is this: you have basically a selection of miniatures for your characters, and you have interchangeable heads. So you can actually pop the head of your character onto a body that is specifically for a particular path in this thing. And that's really cool, I guess, but they're setting themselves up as androgynous bodies, but by androgynous, they mean they look male. So we were not really keen on that, but in the long run, okay, yeah, whatever. All right, and number 5, Gloom, Frost, Mud, Haven, etc. Now, I stubbornly held off from owning Gloomhaven after the initial rush on BGG and with reviewers, mostly because of the price and the amount of table space and commitment it needed when we had neither. And also because it was on everyone's top 5 list and was starting to get this like mainstream Ticket to Ride, Cards Against Humanity, Catan vibe, where people who weren't even in the hobby had heard of it and plugged it. And as we know, I'm kind of a hipster type that I hate everything mainstream. Except for I don't like wearing any hats but baseball caps, and I think craft beer is just like domestic beer because they both taste gross. So maybe not completely hipster, but pretty close. At any rate, I finally drank the Kool-Aid for Gloomhaven and went all in during their Kickstarter for Frosthaven. If for no other reason than because my wallet and Kickstarter are always a dangerous mixture anyway. The Frosthaven Kickstarter offered the whole all-in at a great deal, and I was admittedly interested enough about the game to eventually succumb to the hype train's backwash. I mean, the games had a fantasy dungeon crawler feel, and everyone knows fantasy D&D style games are absolutely my jam. So I put on my rose-tinted glasses and we pulled the trigger and went all in. And then shortly after that, Jaws of the Lion came out, and it was praised as being a more entry-level to introduction to Gloomhaven. So we grabbed that too, and wow. Now, see, I don't necessarily consider this a mistake. Not like, say, building our house without a basement, or like sinking 4 years of paychecks into the 84 Mustang just because of the model name. It's not like I regret going all in on the Gloomhaven World package, and I'm sure I will play them. But just one session of Jaws of the Lion taught me something, and you've probably heard me say it before. These games are all great for what they are, which is resource management Euros and exercises in efficiency. They definitely have innovative mechanics, but they have kind of dull, deterministic combat that makes everything feel like a giant math problem. And when you've gone into it and you have this preconceived notion that these are dungeon crawler adventure types games, you're naturally going to be a little bit disappointed. So it's more like a wolf in dungeon crawler's clothing. I mean, let's be honest, the Gloomhaven line has just a touch more RPG feel to it than your basic Steffenfeld or Uwe Rosenberg. Again, I like the games and I'll still be a proud owner, but I feel like I fell right into the hype machine with this one.
Yeah, I didn't.
No, we did not. And we probably would have
Yeah.
had the game not been given to us as a gift.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even then it sat on the shelf for
It's still sitting on the
still
shelf
sitting on the
unplayed.
shelf unplayed. We got the insert for it to make it more manageable, but we never played it.
Now we do have Jaws of the Lion.
Yes, we did pick up Jaws of the Lion because we'd heard, same as you, it was a great entry level into the world of Gloomhaven.
Mhm.
So I thought, okay, a little less intimidating, only 24 scenarios or 25 scenarios instead of 99. So we picked that up last summer. Not
Yeah,
this past summer before last.
In the middle of the
Yeah.
pandemic. And we've thought, well, nobody's gonna be around to play, and we might as well get this played, learn how to play it.
At least
This
learn
is
how
gonna
the
be the way to do
basics.
it.
And it sat on the shelf for a year too. When we started playing it, it's been, I don't know, about 6 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, whatever, with my brother and his wife, who were the ones who gave us Gloomhaven to begin with. And so far, we've really enjoyed it. I think we've played 8 scenarios so far, because one of them, hopefully no spoilers, I think it's pretty common knowledge, you don't play every scenario. Certain scenarios are shut off by things that happen.
Right.
So
We blew up a port.
We've had happen. Yes, something blew up. So we played last night, in fact, and we have to replay that.
We
scenario.
all died.
We all died. It was, but we laughed so hard at it because Tony, y'all have met Tony. She's been on the podcast before, but yeah, she opened a door a little too soon.
A little too soon.
A little too soon.
We had a room full of things to fight,
Monsters,
and she went running off to another room
and opened the door and opened up four more monsters, and then got surrounded. And we have to replay this whole scenario because she died, and then Joe died,
and then I died.
Then you and I died on the same round.
Yeah.
We were toast on the same. I think we lasted one more round and we were toast. So yeah, it was fun. Now, that being said, we have taken, though, and well, as Greg told somebody last night, Etsy is my best friend when it comes to things like this. So I have gotten the 3D printed walls. And
Yes.
I just recently got the little bookcases and the little
treasure
treasure chests and the crates and the barrels and the 3D doors that open. You just slide the door itself out. And so we bought all this stuff off of Etsy. So it really brings the board to life for me.
Which makes it a little better.
And I've bought 3D printed stands for the monsters that you can track their health on. So that makes it easier than trying to keep track on the sheet
Yep.
by number.
Mhm.
So, because I mean, if you've never played, each of the monsters have a number on them, and you slide the monster sheet into a sleeve based on the number that you're facing for that game. So if you're facing 6 of these, you slide it into the one that has 6 spots on it, and you track their health on a wedge on this sleeve. But that was a lot of confusion for us,
especially if they moved around.
Yeah. So it was always trying to read the little bitty number printed on the monster, and it was just too much work. So we bought the 3D printed that have different colors. There's yellow and there's white, and then there's red ones for the boss monster. So we bought these, and it tracks their health on. It's kind of like a what is that? I want their HeroClix. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Something, but it's similar to a HeroClick base where you're just tracking their health on this base. So it's much easier to see exactly what numbers what. You don't even have to worry about the numbers.
Yeah, each base too has if the monster's poisoned or slowed or befuddled or whatever, it has a slot where you can put it down on there, so you know what monster has it. So
that's cool.
That kind of thing has really brought it to life for us. It really has. So
when are you guys just going to buy a 3D printer?
I know,
right?
I really need
we should, but
it probably saved me a lot of money.
Yeah, I agree with you though, Mark, on this one. The combat
system is a little weird. Yeah,
you need to still be rolling dice.
Yeah,
I like it if you're rolling dice for damage, and this one is my card. My card says I'm attacking for 3, range 2, and
the only difference is the card that adjusts it a little bit,
right?
So. Which, I mean, I get why they did that, because you have the ability to improve your deck over time, whereas you can't improve a die roll over time.
Yeah.
Dice.
Well, yeah, I would say that's how Madara does it, is that you have different colors of dice and certain weapons upgrade to particular. So like your first set of dice may have from 2 to 7 on it, whereas your next set of dice may have from 3 to 9.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
I mean, that's certainly a possibility.
And these are all 6-sided dice, but they just have different numbers on them.
Okay, so they just went a different route with it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So no, I like it so far. Will we move into 99 scenarios after we finish this one? I hope so.
Yeah,
because we're having a great time playing with it. It's a great excuse to get together with my brother and his wife every couple of weeks.
I'm definitely not putting it down, but I would definitely say, if I'm sitting here going, I want something with I want a fantasy dungeon crawler, I'm looking elsewhere. Whereas if I'm looking for a brain burning, like almost kind of Euro game that's slightly different, then that's when I would like hit Gloomhaven, because I feel like it's more of a problem solving game rather than a straight up, bludgeoning creatures type game.
That's what I wanted to do last night, let me tell you.
Right. Yeah, and we didn't back Frosthaven, although Joe and Tony said they were going to get it. I don't think they backed it. I think they're going to get it when it comes to.
Yeah, I think they were planning on
once
buying
it's
that
delivered.
one, so that once we get through this, then we'll go into Gloomhaven, and then we'll immediately go into their copy of Frosthaven.
And don't forget Forgotten Circles in between.
Yep.
Well, see, I heard that one was bad.
Really?
I
always heard that one wasn't worth the money you paid for it. I was like,
I'm thinking the 25 or whatever scenarios it is in Jaws of the
Lion, the 99 and Gloomhaven, and how many's in Frosthaven?
I think there's another 99 in that one. So I'm thinking by the time we get through all that, I'm probably going to be Gloomhaven out.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it doesn't require any apps or anything like that. So I mean,
do like that.
This game, you don't have to play it now. You can, I have Mark can be unsure about it or not like it for what it was lauded as, but ultimately, even if we're playing it in our 70s during retirement, then that's fine. It'll still be just as good then as it is now.
And it's still our first playthrough of the entire thing.
And that's Mark's 5 things